The rain came down in sheets, smearing the visor with ash-slick water that smelled of copper and old engines. My boots sank into mud that felt like it could swallow a man whole. We were 12 clicks inside the shatter zone, a stretch of quarantined land that didn't exist on any modern map, not officially. The old world called it Velcrane District. Now it's just a scar no one talks about. We were a recon unit, Black Nines, scavenger tier. Sent in ahead of the dig crews and drone swarms to map out safe routes and mark anomalous hotbeds. Except there were no safe routes. And the anomalies didn't show up on thermal anymore. I had 4 men. Scratch that. 3 men and 1 classified asset, walked and talked like a man, but the kind of quiet that suggested he'd been turned inside out at some point. Signals degrading, Vex said through the squad comms. His voice crackled like something deep underwater. No sat link. Null uplink. Feels like we're walking into a damp coffin. I didn't disagree. The landscape was post-industrial rot, skeletal buildings leaning like drunkards in the fog, rail lines warped like they'd been clawed by giants, and rusted machinery that still ticked with impossible heat. Everything felt off. Like the world was trying to pretend it was real. I checked my HUD, a flickering green display implanted behind the retina. It tagged a waypoint marked GRAVLIGHT, our mission objective. An old transmission hub buried beneath a collapsed energy spire. The data uplinks had triggered a red echo 2 weeks ago, a high-level signal spike so intense it burned out orbital sensors. Command wanted answers. Command never came out here themselves. We moved single file through a breach in the fence. The barbed wire had fused together in places, like it had been melted and then woven by hand. No signs of life. Not even bugs. Just the low static hum that hung in the air like a thought you couldn't quite shake. Eyes up, I said. I didn't need to say it. Everyone was already on edge. Guns raised, helmets sealed, suit filters ticking down every microspore we breathed. That's when we found the first one. A body. But not dead. It was standing. Pressed upright against the wall, face turned to the sky, as if it were waiting for a signal. No visible wounds. No rot. Just, still. We surrounded it. Breather? Vex asked. Negative, I said. No gear. No heat. No mind. The thing blinked. Slowly. Mechanically. And then it whispered something. Not in words. Not in any language I recognized. It was like hearing a transmission tuned too close to the edge of comprehension. Just raw syllables, hollow and vibrating with false humanity. Our asset, the quiet one we called Lens, stepped forward. He raised a hand and the thing slumped instantly, like a puppet with cut strings. EMP? I asked. Lens said nothing. He just looked at me with those mirrored eyes and kept walking. We burned the body. Standard protocol. Plasma fire reduced it to a black stain on the wall. 20 minutes later, we hit the outer chamber of the old transmission hub. The architecture was Soviet brutalist meets dream logic, doors that led nowhere, stairs that looped, signs in languages that didn't exist. Inside, something hummed. Not electrical. Organic. The walls pulsed ever so slightly, like they were breathing with us. We found hundreds of screens, cathode tubes still flickering, running footage of forests, cities, oceans. All empty. All looping. What is this place? Vex muttered. I think it's watching us, said Coel, our sniper. She was right. As we moved deeper, the air grew warmer. Wetter. Like we were walking through a living lung. Lens touched a panel and it opened like muscle. Revealed a black stairwell that went down, far deeper than the original blueprints allowed. A staircase punched through physics. We didn't argue. The descent was 20 minutes of darkness. At the bottom, a chamber. Circular. Walls lined with cables like veins. In the center, a console. Or maybe an altar. It was humming. Faintly. A red glow pulsed under the surface, matching our heartbeats. I touched it. Everything changed. I was standing in my childhood home. My father's voice on the radio. My brother's laughter in the next room. But none of it was real. Everything was dust. Echoes pulled from my mind and projected into the bones of this place. I screamed. And just like that, I was back in the chamber. But not alone. They were there now. Hundreds of them. Standing in the dark. Faces pale, eyes glassy. The same kind of not dead as the man on the wall. All whispering that same broken language. I raised my rifle. But they didn't move. Len stepped forward. Whispered something back. The whispers stopped. The glow dimmed. And then the whole world shook. The ceiling cracked. Dust fell like snow. Gravelight protocol has failed, Len said flatly. Containment is broken. We are now part of the signal. What the hell does that mean? I snapped. It means we don't go back. Behind us, the staircase had collapsed. We were inside now. With the whispering dead. And the signal. Always the signal. We made a perimeter. Not because it would keep anything out, nothing physical, anyway, but because soldiers like us needed the illusion of control. Koel covered the east with her rifle propped against a collapsed server rack. Vex sat near the wall, checking his oxygen mix even though we weren't sure if the air was even real down here. And me? I watched Len's. He hadn't moved since the collapse. Just stood by the altar, visor dimmed, fingers twitching like he was remembering how to be human. Command's not gonna pull us, Vex said. They'll assume we're dead. They're not wrong, Koel muttered. I checked the comms again. Static. But not dead static, alive static. It hissed in patterns. Breathing. Clicking. Once, it said my name. I shut it off. The chamber was colder now. The red glow from the altar had faded into a sickly amber. The bodies, the echo forms, as I started calling them in my head, weren't moving. But they hadn't left either. Just, lingering. Like shadows with weight. We need to move, I said. Backtrack. Find a shaft, a tunnel, anything vertical. And if there's nothing? Koel asked. Then we keep digging until there is. Lenz finally spoke. There is no up from here. We left the chamber. The architecture was impossible now. Corridors that bent in hexagonal spirals, rooms that looped, hallways that ended in mirrored walls showing wrong reflections. Our internal nav spun endlessly, unable to anchor. This isn't built, Vex whispered. This is, grown. He was right. The walls weren't metal anymore. Not exactly. They pulsed under the touch. Warm. Responsive. Like skin stretched too tight over bone. We passed another body. But this one was new. Wearing gear. A recon badge. Black 9 colors. Burnt into the wall like a fossil, his helmet cracked, face frozen mid-scream. Name tag scrubbed, Koel said. Like he never existed. Lenz walked up and touched the body's forehead. It breathed. Just once. And then collapsed into ash. No one said anything after that. File fragment, recovered audio transmission. Gravelight protocol was never meant to protect us. It was a filter. A sifter. It separates what can survive the signal, from what can't. We are the dust left behind. Deeper still, we found the array chamber. A massive dome, hollow and black, filled with floating constructs, satellite dishes, antenna arrays, orbital spires, suspended in the air like held by invisible threads. All pointed downwards. At us. No power. Yet they hummed. Vex reached out to one of them. It sparked. Just a twitch. But that's all it took. Suddenly, his helmet display froze. His eyes went wide. "Get it off me," he said, clutching at his head. "They're in the HUD, they're watching through the glass." We tried to pull his helmet free. It wouldn't budge. His suit locked. "Cut it!" I shouted. "Blade it off." Cole moved in with her knife, too late. The visor shattered from the inside. A scream burst from the glass, not his voice. Something else. Higher. Hungrier. Vex dropped, thrashing. Then still. Dead? Not exactly. His eyes opened again. But they weren't his. We left him. Not proud of it. But you learn fast in places like this. Mercy is a luxury, and nothing stays dead when the signal is hungry. We're down to 3. Lens. Coel. Me. We moved into a tunnel lined with brass tiles and sealed vault doors, each marked with numbers that counted down, not up. Every door we passed made the air heavier. Like the tunnel itself was compressing thought. Then, we heard the whisper again. But it wasn't just sound this time. It was memory. Coel stopped. "I hear my brother." "You don't have a brother," I said. "I did. Before grave light." She opened a door. Behind it, her childhood bedroom. Perfect. Frozen. The toys, the colors. Even the window view of a suburban sky. Impossible. She stepped inside. Coel. Door closed. Locked. Lens didn't even flinch. "She made a choice," he said. "What the hell is this place?" I asked him. He turned to me. "Sanctuary. Or prison. Depends how much of yourself you're willing to leave behind." "Speak like a man again," I snapped. "Not like a damn terminal." He smiled. "Just barely. I'm not a man. Now it's just us two. The signal's stronger. I don't know what I'll find deeper in. But I know this. The further down we go, the more it remembers us. And whatever's at the bottom isn't waiting. It's calling." The walls breathe now. Not metaphorically, I watch them inhale, pulse, contract. Like lungs stitched from steel and memory. Every few seconds, a warm gust pushes past my helmet, carrying with it the coppery stench of wet circuitry and burnt flesh. We're almost at the base. Len said the structure beneath the old comms facility is called Core Spindle 0, a spindle, he claims, that runs deeper than any drill has ever dared. It predates the facility. Predates the signal. Predates us. I asked how he knows. He didn't answer. He never does when the answers matter. Our boots click on metal stairs now, spiral-etched, descending like the thread of a screw. Gravity feels lighter. Time doesn't pass right here. My suit clock has been stuck on 4:03 for what feels like an hour. And I swear I hear my mother humming over the comms. She died 6 years ago. We reach the observatory vault. At the center is a chair. Not a throne. A machine. Its design is wrong. Too many angles. Wires coiling like veins from the ceiling into its back. And floating above it, not resting, floating, is the source of the pulse, a black prism, rotating silently, casting no light but still glowing. Lens stops. This is where the signal roots itself, he says. Where it watches. I draw my rifle. The chamber does not like this. The air hums louder. Lenz raises a hand. I hesitate, but then lower the gun. Talk, I say. Now. He walks to the chair. Doesn't sit. Just circles it, like a priest performing a ritual. Grave light was never containment. It was communion. A failed attempt to interface with a language older than reality. The signal isn't a broadcast. It's a mirror. It shows you the parts of yourself that still believe in meaning, and then burns them. Why us? I ask. Because you came here, Lenz says, tilting his head. You always do. He puts a hand on the prism. Flash. Not light. Thought. I'm in a city. Black rain falls from a colorless sky. Billboards flash words I can't read. Everyone walks the same path, same pace, same silence. Then I see myself, across the street, watching me. Rifle slung. Visor cracked. And he's smiling. Because I'm already dead. I just haven't stopped breathing yet. I fall to my knees. Lenz catches me before I hit the ground. You touched it, he says. It touched back. What the hell is this place? I whisper. The world beneath your world. Where ideas rot. Where failed gods are buried in data. He turns to the prism. It is not alive. It is not dead. It is the echo of thought, the last signal from before time started ticking. I start to laugh. Not because it's funny. But because it wants me to. The signal is inside now. Tapping on the glass. Then the prism shatters. But not with sound. With memory. My father's voice screams across the void. Then my old CO. Then the names of men I lost in Breach 7. Every voice I buried, suddenly speaking at once, through me. My visor floods with raw footage. None of it mine. Whole lives. Whole deaths. Children screaming as cities fall. Soldiers firing into black fog. A woman whispering in an empty room, the mirror knows you now. I black out. When I wake, I'm in the chair. Strapped. Lenz is gone. Only the signal remains, coiling like a storm around the broken prism, whispering now in my voice. I scream. The chair responds. A HUD activates. No longer green. Now red. Text scrolls across the bottom. Gravelight protocol, failure. New uplink accepted. You are now the signal. And just like that, I understand. This isn't the end of the mission. It's the beginning of the broadcast. The signal doesn't kill. It recruits. They say the signal never forgets. I found that out the hard way. The next recruit wasn't like us. She came through the breach, young, wide-eyed, calling herself Rin. Not military. Not a stalker. Just a scavenger chasing ghosts and ghosts of ghosts. The moment she stepped inside the shatter zone, her comms lit up. Static first. Then whispers. Then her own voice, but fractured. Echoing. Like a ghost speaking through her. I watched her struggle with it. Saw the weight settle in her eyes, the way her hands trembled over a rifle too heavy for her. Lenz had been right. The signal reaches for you. And it always finds a way. Rin's path was different. She moved like a ghost herself, slipping through the ruins with a strange grace. Every step, she passed echoes, ghostly figures trapped in loops, shadows caught between life and death. She didn't run. She listened. The signal spoke to her. And she answered. The first time she saw the prism was when the world tilted. The air shimmered, bending around her like liquid glass. She touched the black heart. And everything changed. Visions flooded her mind. Cities drowned in acid rain. Children lost in empty playgrounds. Soldiers fading into static. Whispers in languages older than memory. But Rin didn't scream. She smiled. Because she heard something different. A voice calling her name. Not to trap her. To free her. But freedom in the zone is just another cage. She joined the broadcast. Became part of the signal. Her voice was added to the endless chorus. Calling new souls into the dark. And I'm still here. Watching. Waiting. Because the signal never forgets. And the broadcast has only just begun. They found each other at the bottom. Rin, who was now more voice than flesh. And me, barely holding together, memory stitched with static, soul burned thin by the broadcast. She didn't speak with her mouth anymore. She radiated. Whispers filled the vault like a tide, and all of them came from her. I raised my weapon. She didn't flinch. You're the last, she said, not with words, but with 1,000 voices I once knew. Koel. Vex. My father. My own voice, echoing back at me. You're not Rin, I said. I'm everyone now, she replied. And the walls opened. Behind her stood the true core. Not a machine. Not a god. A thought that refused to die. It pulsed with presence. Not light. Not matter. But intention. And it had been growing, feeding, on every soldier, scavenger, scientist, and sinner that had stepped into its shadow. It wasn't broadcasting a signal. It was the signal. A living code. A recursive echo chewing through time. And it wanted one thing. A host. A final vessel to leave the shatter zone and carry the signal into the world above. Me. The chair waited. No more restraints. No more wires. Just an invitation. Rin stepped aside. Or maybe she dissolved. It didn't matter. The core thrummed. I felt it in my teeth. In my blood. It showed me everything. The facility wasn't an accident. Gravelight was built after the first contact. We thought we were locking something in. But it was always us on the inside. It lured us here. Filtered us. And now. Chosen. I stepped forward. Gun in hand. The signal welcomed me. All I had to do was sit. Surrender. And become the future. But I didn't. I raised the gun, not at the core. But at myself. I whispered, you can't broadcast what doesn't exist. And pulled the trigger. Darkness. Then. Silence. And then. Light. Not warm. Not holy. Just white. Empty. Like the slate had been wiped clean. Did I die? I don't know. Maybe I became the gap in the signal. The static between messages. The noise no one hears. Maybe that's the only way to win. Not to fight. Not to surrender. But to vanish. The broadcast stopped. But only for a moment. And somewhere, far above, a new receiver powered on. They found each other at the bottom. Rin, who was now more voice than flesh. And me, barely holding together, memory stitched with static, soul burned thin by the broadcast. She didn't speak with her mouth anymore. She radiated. Whispers filled the vault like a tide, and all of them came from her. I raised my weapon. She didn't flinch. You're the last, she said, not with words, but with 1,000 voices I once knew. Koel. Vex. My father. My own voice, echoing back at me. You're not Rin, I said. I'm everyone now, she replied. And the walls opened. Behind her stood the true core. Not a machine. Not a god. A thought that refused to die. It pulsed with presence. Not light. Not matter. But intention. And it had been growing, feeding, on every soldier, scavenger, scientist, and sinner that had stepped into its shadow. It wasn't broadcasting a signal. It was the signal. A living code. A recursive echo chewing through time. And it wanted one thing. A host. A final vessel to leave the shatter zone and carry the signal into the world above. Me. The chair waited. No more restraints. No more wires. Just an invitation. Rin stepped aside. Or maybe she dissolved. It didn't matter. The core thrummed. I felt it in my teeth. In my blood. It showed me everything. The facility wasn't an accident. Gravelight was built after the first contact. We thought we were locking something in. But it was always us on the inside. It lured us here. Filtered us. And now. Chosen. I stepped forward. Gun in hand. The signal welcomed me. All I had to do was sit. Surrender. And become the future. But I didn't. I raised the gun, not at the core. But at myself. I whispered, "You can't broadcast what doesn't exist." And pulled the trigger. Darkness. Then. Silence. And then. Light. Not warm. Not holy. Just white. Empty. Like the slate had been wiped clean. Did I die? I don't know. Maybe I became the gap in the signal. The static between messages. The noise no one hears. Maybe that's the only way to win. Not to fight. Not to surrender. But to vanish. The broadcast stopped. But only for a moment. And somewhere, far above, a new receiver powered on. The zone was quiet. For the first time in years, maybe decades, the signal had gone silent. No more pulses. No more whispers. No more names crawling through broken radios. Just stillness. The old transmission towers stood like rusted bones against a gray sky. Wind pushed through the ruins of Velcrane district, and all it carried was dust. They sent in a recovery team a month later. Drones first. Then boots. They found nothing alive. No host. No survivors. No bodies. Just the chair. Still warm. The techs who analyzed the site said the signal had collapsed. A total data implosion. As if a system too complex to fail, had chosen to forget itself. Some called it a victory. Some called it a delay. Most called it classified. But a man on the recovery team, name redacted, started hearing things a week after extraction. A voice in his left ear. Always just beneath his dreams. He said it wasn't words. It was recognition. Like something remembering him. 2 weeks later, he disappeared. All they found was his helmet, still transmitting a loop of white noise. It matched the Gravelight code. Far away, across the ice wastes north of the old zone, a black prism emerged from melting permafrost. Untouched. Uncracked. Humming. Waiting. The signal was never destroyed. It simply moved. Because it doesn't want to be found. It wants to be understood. No more signals. No more teams. No more war rooms full of redacted files and countdowns that led nowhere. Velcrane is gone. Not destroyed. Not quarantined. Just, absent. Like a word erased from the dictionary of reality. People remember it differently now. Some say it was a failed mining site. Others say there was never anything there at all. Just a forest. Just fog. Just nothing. But deep inside the archives, off-grid, eyes only, locked behind 7 layers of clearance, there's one file left. One audio log. Broken. Corrupted. Timestamp, unknown. It's only 4 words. Looped. Endlessly. A man's voice. Worn. Dry. Calm. He says. I never left, did I? And then. Silence. True silence. No static. No signal. No host. Because endings aren't broadcasts. They're echoes. And somewhere. Even now. Someone is listening.